Cigarettes and vaping is a big problem at their school, and why staff say it's getting harder to catch kids and prevent them from doing it.
And how do lower tax refunds impact people's ability to travel, vacation, and buy things they like? I talked to a travel expert who gives me the deets.
And this Valentine's Day, a new mom unlocks love in Maine. This is News Center now. More teenagers are using e-cigarettes and vape pens, even though they are banned on school grounds. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Mills.
And I'm Lee Goldberg. Now, school staff says it's harder to catch kids using these items. Chris Costa spoke with students, a school resource officer, and a prevention specialist about why vaping and e-cigarette use is increasing so greatly.
Lee and Lindsay, it's a combination of a number of issues, including peer pressure and the ability to hide these devices. Police say more kids are using them now, in part due to a recent law change that takes away the legal consequences.
There's like no comparison at all. It's obvious that it's just skyrocketed in high school.
Jack Brownstein is a freshman at South Portland High School and a member of SoPo Unite, a drug-free community set up by a federal grant, one of 18 across Maine.
How often do you see kids vaping or using e-cigarettes?
Oh, every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Whether on social media or in person, school-aged kids are using the devices that don't smell like tobacco smoke, but contain up to 20 times the amount of nicotine as one cigarette.
Some of our students are addicted to the nicotine in that.
Leanne Dodge is the program director for SoPo Unite.
This is a vape pen.
And says fewer students are getting caught, but it's likely that even more are finding secret ways to use e-cigarettes and vape pens on school grounds.
I think now students are being more cautious, and the places that they're using it typically is in bathrooms.
Many of the e-cigarettes and vape pens are actually magnetic. Students are hiding them in places where teachers can't find them, but their friends can find them and share them later. School staff say that's not the only reason, though, why it's harder to catch kids using e-cigarettes and vape pens.
Here is just a lighter. Look how little these are.
I'm fearing that we're going to see more addiction and tougher to treat down the road.
An addiction to nicotine that Maine and the country has spent years trying to curb, making a comeback.
Is there a way to stop it?
I think it's just, with the younger generations, just teaching them how it's wrong and what it can do.
So South Portland is taking a somewhat different approach to discipline. Instead of suspending the students for multiple days, the student meets with a prevention counselor and learns about why these devices are dangerous. Now, we talked with a school resource officer earlier today. He says that law change that we talked about actually prevents them from issuing a summons. So now kids are more apt to try to use these devices on school grounds. And coming up later in the show, we're going to have an MD come on and answer your questions on Facebook Live about teen use of e-cigarettes and vaping. Lee and Lindsay.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. We've spent a lot of time on that topic on this program, so it keeps on going because it's a problem. So.
And of course, so many of you continue to have questions, and now is the time to ask them.
We'll right now. I have a lot of them, and I'm sure you guys do too.
Well, this snow was really something today.
I would have taken a foot or more of actual snow versus the few inches of this slushy junk that we got.
It was 7.5 or so in Portland.
It was heavy.
By the time I got outside, there was like 2 inches left. It was pancaked all the way down, and it was just like, ugh.
We're hoping to do a story tomorrow where we figure out how much each shovelful of this snow weighed.
23 pounds.
Then they're gonna. You're not actually far off. And then they're gonna have me do that at the gym, like over and over again. My shirts will be small.
Or twice, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a look outside. Still some snow showers out there on the back end of this. This stuff has been light, but just kind of coating up the sidewalks on the back end, moving through parts of upstate New York. This is the low trying to fill itself in. We won't see any significant accumulation, but again, some snow showers continuing through around probably 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Current temperatures in the 30s, 20s into the mountains and foothills. And so along the coastline, we actually got down to bare pavement in a lot of spots quickly because those boundary layer temperatures were relatively warm for a snowstorm. And that's why it never got all that dicey for driving in a lot of spots. that was the good news of this storm. All right, hour-by-hour forecast. Snow showers, snow flurries is what I would call it through the rest of tonight, and they're hanging around the mountains till 1 or 2 in the morning. Tomorrow's a really good-looking day. It's a day that I really, really wish that I could go skiing because it's going to be sunny and it's going to be relatively mild for this time of the year. Coming up into the mid-30s by the afternoon, probably only into the 20s in the mountains, but a bluebird day there. Our next storm system moves in on Friday, and we know that Lee wants a foot of snow. He said that, but we'll probably
until it was finally doomed by a ferocious dust storm 8 months ago. NASA made over
vacation agency that says they're not happy with the news. So first things first, why could you see a smaller refund check this year? Well, it has to do with the new and improved accuracy of the tax withholdings table. That was changed to reflect lower tax rates.
This year, because the withholdings maybe were a little less, your paycheck was $20, $30, $50 more, because less tax was being withheld, meant that you get that much less back when you actually file your return and request a refund. But that means that any boost that a business would see at tax refund time is probably going to be muted.
And that's worrying to Doobie's travel agency based in Auburn and South Portland. The end of February and the beginning of March is peak season for folks looking to spend their tax refund checks on a vacation.
Tax refunds aren't going to be as big, so people are going to be doing shorter trips. Generally, they book for a week. Maybe they'll book for 4 or 5 days, maybe 3, just to be able to get away.
And it's not just hurting the travel agency's bottom line. It impacts the entire industry.
The less money people have, the less money they spend, the less people are visiting hotels or, even travel within the United States.
So agencies like Doobie hope that travelers adjust and look to the year ahead.
If they get a lower tax refund, that they start planning for next year as opposed to this year, because we can start booking a year ahead of time or a year and a half ahead of time.
So the travel agents tell me that it's not the end of the world for them because there are enough people that are going to go on vacation with or without a refund, but it is definitely an adjustment period, and they're hoping things level out soon. Lee and Lindsay.
All right, Cam, thank you very much. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about that e-cigarette thing that's going on pretty much everywhere. We have a doctor in the house. The doctor's making house calls. If you have any questions, get on our Facebook Live feed right now and ask. We will answer.
And 2 women celebrating 2 very special gifts this Valentine's Day. One, a piece of advice that launched a career. The other, a new love of her life.
All right.
How's everybody doing?
What's up, Deborah? Joe Bar.
Hey, Bill.
Dustin's tax return was higher than ever, and he's going to be buying lunch for everybody, so that's good.
Nice.
Susan's hears that they've been exploding the e-cigarettes, and that's obviously very dangerous.
Am I saying your last name correctly? Yes, who's talking?
Let's see. Oh, Joe says that my little step-up platform was on camera when I tossed a Cam. We were so worried about the trash bins, but now my secrets are getting exposed. That's all right. You guys already know that.
What's up, Jeff?
Mary says springtime, please.
Yes, definitely, please.
So yeah, guys, what do you want to know about e-cigarettes or vaping? I know one thing that's really tricky with these is they're really hard to detect because they don't smell the same way regular cigarettes do. So I would be curious to know, how can parents figure out if their kids are vaping? What are the signs to look for?
It is hard because you don't get the traditional, like for, when maybe our parents were looking for marijuana signs, it was, you could smell it first of all. You could see the people usually had red eyes, or they were openly inebriated, and this stuff doesn't do that. And it smells like mint and lemon and strawberry, so it could be a Jolly Rancher just as easily as it could be, something else. So it's really, really hard.
Coco, do you want us to pin questions if they come up?
You can, that would be awesome.
Cool.
I'm just gonna, we have our Facebook Live.
So yeah, now's your chance.
Yeah, we have some.
So we'd love to hear your questions and get them answered right on the air.
All right, Chris, I'm going to pin a comment when you get it. I've got about 2 or 3 right now. So.
Great. Is it the first one from Leo Walker?
He's one of them. Do you
I'll ask that first, so you can pin the other one.
Okay.
Great. Yes. We'll just go right to it. The more time for questions, the better.
Something new I learned about e-cigarettes and vaping today, that they're magnetic. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
So that makes hiding them very easy. I don't know.
I mean, what's the functional purpose of that? If you're not marketing to kids, why would you put a magnet on it?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean,
but I literally didn't know that.
The inside, like you wouldn't put it under your dash. It's plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be. There's got to be a reason for that.
I'll start with long-term effects then.
I'm gonna ask now.
I
want to know.
All right, we're here with Dr. Marguerite Penoyer. She's a doctor with the American Lung Association, and now is your chance to ask questions on Facebook Live about teen use of e-cigarettes and vaping. So, Dr. Penoyer, we have heard that these pods, these e-cigarette pods, contain 20 times the amount of nicotine as one cigarette. You say that's true?
That seems to be true with some of the newer products, and so a real concern for particularly kids, young people, who are easily addicted by those higher amounts of nicotine.
So what are the long-term effects if a kid gets started using these products at a young age?
So we don't know all the long-term effects. That's the worst part with all of this, but we do know what happens with nicotine on the developing brain. There's some interesting worries about what it's doing to the kid's cognitive function. Is it changing patterns, increasing addiction capability to other products? So there's a great deal of concerns about behavioral and cognitive effects on kids with nicotine.
So we've got some questions on our Facebook live stream. Leo is asking, are the vapors as toxic as a regular cigarette?
So that is the question, and it really hasn't been fully addressed. So the FDA hasn't really deemed all these products. We don't have all the data on that. We do know that there are some nasty chemicals in these, such as diacetyl, some metals, a lot of things that get heated to high temperatures. So they're not safe in the way that we think, because they're essentially being heated to such high temperatures. So we don't know all the answers to that, but we do know there's some real health risks, some bad lung effects of diacetyl and many other things that can happen with this type of exposure.
Our last question on air, and then we'll go to our Facebook live stream during the commercial break. One of the big criticisms around one of the most popular brands, Juul, is the flavored pods. Now they're saying they're no longer going to ship the non-tobacco or non-menthol versions to retail stores. Do you think that can help cut kids from using these?
I think that's a step in the right direction, and the Lung Association had been working in Maine as a step ahead of many other states. We've pulled we've put legislation in to remove a lot of these flavored products, but we're really looking to remove some of the loopholes that still remain in the Maine legislative actions, because some of the older cigars, the flavored cigars, if they were produced, they are grandfathered in and should be pulled in under this protection for kids, because we know that the flavored products are more likely to hook kids.
Dr. Marguerite Penoyer from the American Lung Association, we really appreciate you being here. She'll be here during the commercial break to answer more of your questions on our Facebook live stream. Lane Lindsay, back over to you.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Well, you ever think about trying yoga but think maybe you won't fit in, maybe it's too zen?
That's me.
There is an alternative that we're going to check out.
I just don't think I could do it. I'd probably hurt myself. There is no alternative, though, in the Weather Center. It's Keith, and more Keith, and some John Mayer songs. Fathers, be good to your daughters.
You like John Mayer? Or?
Daughters?
He's running through the halls of his high school.
All right. Stand right here, because you're the important person.
Hey there. Thanks for being here. And it's nice to meet you as well.
Okay, so Joe is asking, how can you explain to a kid the health risk of vaping as opposed to smoking marijuana?
Oh, good question.
That's a great question. We know that combustible tobacco is really tough on lungs, and we have to, by inference, say that marijuana is as well. But e-cigarettes also are really heating the product to high temperature. So the worry is, are we going to therefore be putting kids at greater risk? And so we know that there are some bad products being released with e-cigarettes. We just can't really compare them, and I don't think that's a great,
The long-term effects aren't on the record yet.
They aren't, and that's the thing, and no one has studied all of these effects yet.
We've talked to law enforcement that has trouble spotting it, to teachers and school administrators who can't always spot it. As a parent, if you're worried, what are you looking for? Like, how would you even know that your kid was doing it?
Yeah, and I think it's important to have the discussion with kids, and again, to make it less accessible to kids. So this is, again, what we're all trying to do. The Lung Association and Janet Mills has restored a great deal of funding to our tobacco cessation programs here in Maine that I think will help with that.
Do you think that's a problem though? Because I mean, part of that settlement was from the big tobacco from decades ago,
right.
And now it seems this reinvigoration of this addiction to nicotine. I mean, and even Marlene is asking, is my kid vaping or using e-cigarettes going to lead to smoking regular cigarettes?
And that's what we're worried about. We think we may have a whole new generation of children addicted to tobacco.
Oh, we're at the monitor.
That's when we had our smoking rates down to 1% or less. So that's our worry. Is we are facing a whole new
We're about to be back on the audio because they're...
It is scary because you can't smell it.
Wireless 7? Do we still have it? Do we have it back now? We got about 30 seconds left in our commercial break. We're going to keep Dr. Penoya around if you're available for another 3 minutes or so. So during the next break, we can answer a couple more of your questions. These guys are about to be back on TV. All right? We'll see you in a few.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
As Valentine's Day nears, a young mom is thankful for the new love of life.
Not long after Kristen Vermeulen landed a dream job at Chart Metalworks, another dream came true, the birth of her daughter.
The process takes time and patience.
Another pour to give them that kind of dome effect.
The result? A gift that hangs very close to Kristen Vermeulen's heart.
So there's a photo of my daughter and I. It has been a life-changing event for my entire family, and I'm proud to be in the Maine area.
The locket was made at this shop in Portland. Early in her career, Vermeulen worked at a fertility clinic, never thinking she'd ever need the kind of help she gave other women every day.
Actually going through a challenge was so hard. Like, how did I get here? And how did these women go through this?
After a miscarriage, she felt defeated and craved change. She and her husband moved to Maine. She landed a dream job as the PR manager for Chart Metalworks.
I learned how to sail on Penobscot Bay out of Castine.
Charlotte Guptill is Vermeulen's boss. She created the custom jewelry company more than a decade ago. Her mentor advised her to hire a PR manager to help the relatively small brand grow.
It was a big lesson.
That person helped the company land a story in the magazine Coastal Living. From there, business boomed.
It really launched our business.
From a couple sales a week to hundreds.
For months and months this lasted.
When the public relations manager left to pursue another opportunity, Vermeulen stepped in. Then came even better news.
She is the love of my life. I would do anything for her.
Vermeulen learned she was pregnant with her daughter, Elena. She was gifted this locket after the baby was born.
It really just sums up what my life is now, and it also represents the future, just future memories I have with growing my family and being a mom.
Mindful of how she got here.
I feel like Valentine's Day is great to spread the love of your journey. It's always about support and love and positivity, and that's like kind of my mantra moving forward after dealing with the challenges that I dealt with.
So another Maine company, Seabags, you might recognize, they acquired Chart Metalworks several years ago. So two women inside that jewelry shop who are celebrating gifts this Valentine's Day. One the gift of life, the other the gift of career-shaping advice.
And we got to see a baby.
I know, your fave.
I know. I should have a baby. Well, no. Okay.
Famous last words.
Number 8. Let's move on.
8's a charm.
Oh my gosh. Lots of you finding some fun ways to spend your snowy, snowy day, like this.
What is
sledding, if you will? Oh no, swinging. This is swinging in Albion. We got rid of sledding in Southport.
Oh, I know.
This is swinging in Albion.
Exactly. It's tough.
Some slush.
Oh, and then look, along the coast as well.
Just hanging out, taking in the sun. I know
serene.
a lot of people who will head to the coast on storm days. They like to see the ocean and Mother Nature during snowstorms.
Yeah. The Maine coast is pretty and like kind of wants to kill you too. That's kind of like how Maine's, you know what I mean? It's
violent.
like, it's very, yeah, exactly, and it's rocky, it's real pretty, it's nice in the summer. All right, so today's storm, Yeah.
It's behind us.
The shoveling.
Sorry,
People are not enjoying the shoveling.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I saw some people on State Street here in Portland, and I was like, oh man, like,
I know.
that is going to take you forever.
People are going to be sore.
And you can't just plow out of that because you got to go sideways.
No.
That's the thing with it.
It's the worst.
So a couple of snow showers still on the back side of this. This is light stuff, and we've seen a lot of this intermittently. The real storm for most of us ended late morning, right around noon, but we've had some snow showers in the back end that continue to rotate through, and a few squalls out there as well. I don't anticipate this will be a big deal. Might just be a coating on top of if you've cleared out the snow, or if not, just sitting on top of that pile of snow. Snow totals: Farmington 11 inches, Kingsbury 14, Millinocket 11.5, Portland 7.7. Guys, I want to point out like how perfect the snowfall map was, because I know nobody's gonna say anything, because that's how it works, right, Lee?
I thought you guys were great.
Thank you.
Mostly Guttner.
Mostly Todd. Yeah. His face is shaven. It's much more clean cut. All right, hour by hour forecast. Overnight tonight, the snow showers die down later tonight and into the mountains around midnight or so. They still continue, but tomorrow is a really bright, good-looking day, and temperatures around 35 along the coastline, closer to the upper 20s to around 30 farther inland. But it is a nice day. It's one of those bluebird kind of days. Now, Friday, our next storm system moves in. This will be rain along the coastline pretty much from the get-go. There'll be a little mixing into the foothills and the interior through Friday morning, and then we'll change over to all rain. So just watch this. You can see snow showers there Friday morning. Everybody is rain along the coastline through the entire event, though. It's not all that heavy. We're into the mid-40s. Snowing over northern Maine, even they probably end as snow showers on Friday night, and then we cruise into a quiet-looking weekend after that. So this is our next storm system. It's going to be 1 to 3 in the mountains. The rest of us won't get anything in the way of snow. The pattern is active. It threatens us several times. One of them will be on Monday, should sail to our south. Perhaps, though, another storm coming mid next week, and then one behind that we're going to have to watch. So not every one of these storms is going to directly hit us, but there's definitely a bunch of them kind of flying by to our south. So we'll keep an eye on that. Caribou, they have all the fun. 115 inches of snow plus the 10 and change they had today. Portland has some of this storm snow included in the total, but Caribou is the one who's just smoking through. By the way, their record is 190 inches though, so they got about 80 inches to go if they want to break the record. I don't know.
It's a lot of snow.
Yeah, I don't know if they want it or not, but either way. Weekend looks good, quiet. We'll watch Wednesday for our next storm system because that's what we do. By the way, Valentine's Day, as I mentioned tomorrow, looks good.
I'll say this about the forecast and the team as a weather consumer.
Right.
The timing of this storm, almost like you had the watch set. Like it started exactly when you said it would, and ended exactly. Yeah, but that means more to me. Like 7 inches, 9 inches, what's the difference? It's
this
2
is
inches.
just me being bitter because
so,
when we nail it, we don't hear anything.
You know,
I'm
we
very
love
needy.
you though. But true. Hashtag true. All right. Thank you, sir. So there's a different kind of yoga in Houston. It kind of throws a wrench in the zen that one would expect. It's called Rage Yoga.
It's everything that it sounds. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Are you doing the class tonight? Would you like a yoga mat? Yoga itself actually means union, so union with yourself. Exhale out through your mouth, and that's not always just like super calm breathing, practicing like quiet time like a lot of yoga places are. Yeah. And people need to like release and let go. Exhale, kick on that. It's a great thing to just scream it out. Get rid of all that tension in your head, your neck, your jaw, everything. Let it go. My name is Ashley Duzic, and we're at Brash Brewery, and we're gonna do Rage Yoga. Exhale, release all that. Let it go. Rage Yoga is a practice that involves breathing, stretching, mudras, yoga postures, and a lot of bad humor. One of the funniest things I think I ever heard was, I told you to do the dishes. We actually take beer breaks during the class. Cheers. It's definitely not for everybody, and that's totally okay. I also don't recommend bringing your children. We're all angry about something, and we all have been holding on to an F-bomb for a little bit too long. Yeah. So that's what this does. It allows you to have a safe space to let go of your anger and frustration and rage in a healthy way. And then also wash it all away with some ice cold beer. To come up all the way. Exhale.
I am suddenly interested in yoga.
Are ya?
I mean, that would be all the rage.
Uh-huh. I didn't think you were going for it, and you did. Very good. All right, a lot more coming up on News Center Maine at 5:30. We're going to check in with Cindy for a preview. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, guys. You think you did a lot of shoveling today? Wait till you see what folks in Caribou had to deal with. And for them, the snow isn't even over yet. We're going to take you there. And the lengths that kids will go to find a thrill on a snow day. We'll take you to a park where one group came up with their own X Games course. Those stories and more ahead at 5:30. Back to you.
Can't wait to see that. All right, stick around. We'll be right back with Brain Drops. I got tongue-tied.
It's all the rage.
All right.
It's all the rage.
Dr. Familiar is back. We had a really great question come in from Haley, who is a high school senior. She says, with Juuls, is secondhand smoke an issue, and what damage could that do? I'm a senior in high school, and I've been on buses where people Juul, and I always worry about that type of thing. So vaping in general, or e-cigarettes in general, should people be worried about secondhand smoke?
Yes, absolutely. Haley is dead on right on this one. I think it's a great question she's raised because you are inhaling secondhand, and we even concerned about third-hand smoke exposure where it's just left on things. So Haley's got real reason to be concerned. We don't know the safety. We do know that you're getting these byproducts and even a low level of nicotine absorption with that as well.
Even though it's supposedly vapor?
Even though it's supposedly vapor, it's inhalable that way. That's why it is vapor. It's easily breathed.
Wow.
We're gonna have to go back and we'll go back through the comments and remind you what she said in case you guys if you missed it at the time of.
One thing I want to ask you, if you've seen this too in your practice, is I've heard from a pediatric pulmonologist that there are children with respiratory issues that are still vaping because it's what their friends are doing. And he said that was actually one way for parents to tell, like if they have asthma and they're using their medication way more, that might be an indicator. So is that something you're seeing as well? Just, I'm curious to know.
It's a real worry for anybody who's dealing with kids with lung disease. You know, it's just anything like that is a real trigger, and it's perceived as so benign by kids. They think it's so safe, and it just isn't. And so obviously that would be an indicator for a parent to look for. A great point made by the pulmonologist.
I wonder if you guys have any more questions, now's your chance on Facebook Live to write those in. One thing that kind of came up with the school resource officer I was talking to is that there's been a little bit of a law change. I was trying to explain this at the end of the story. I think we're going to be, how long till we're back on air? 60?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I just have a feeling.
There was a law change in 2017 or so, late 2017, where the school resource officer, if they caught a kid with, possessing a tobacco product on campus, they could issue them a summons. They'd either go to court and pay a fine, or in the case in South Portland, they could go to a education class, a smokeless Saturday class at the PD. Since that's changed, you can't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore. So kids are like, oh, no legal consequences? Great, I'll go for it. Oh, we're back on. Sorry. Well, we're about to be done, so I'm gonna let you go.
We love and especially when you've got moose calling. This is good stuff.
This can't be today.
Well, no, because it's not snowing, or it's from over the summer.
The one time that you don't have a script,
that's okay.
This is the most confusing thing I've seen in the entire show.
It's a world record because there were over 1,000 people doing moose calling at the same time. And of course, there's a record for everything, and that's so Maine.
It is that.
That Maine would have the record for most people continuously moose calling.
Isn't that nice though to take a look at warmer times?
Just confused by the season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's always good to run that thing from August and February.
Right. I think so.
Yeah.
Lee, I'm very concerned about this for you, Lee. Do you sleep too many hours?
That's cute.
You know, you're in bed just too long.
Oh yeah.
I thought this was an interesting article. It's a summarization of a bunch of different studies, but some doctors are still kind of debating. The general consensus here, let me just start with this, is that obviously too little sleep is a lot more dangerous than too much sleep. But they went through these, about 3% of adults that tend to sleep over 9 hours. And part of that's a luxury, but part of it's the way they're wired. And they tried to figure out, in some cases, there was a higher mortality. But they were trying to figure out, was that because they were sick to begin with and they were sleeping longer hours? The other thing that they're starting to link a little bit is there was a higher instance of stillborn when mothers who are expecting slept over 9 hours, and so they're trying to figure out what that's about. Still better than undersleeping, which is what a lot of Americans do, but the sweet spot is around 8 hours. If you have 7 kids, it's about 45 minutes.
So what's the low number? Like, what's the undersleeping?
Undersleeping,
what is the number?
I think they consider it under 6.5 hours is like not enough sleep.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Is that a day or a week?
You do okay with it, though.
Is that per day or per week?
That's, yeah.
Exactly.
You find a way.
Oh boy.
Oh boy
Okay.
is right.
We're
New
off.
Center Maine at 5:30. Starts now. Bye, guys. Thanks for asking your questions.
It might even be 7. I'm not sure. Yeah, 7, I'm screwed.